The city rises from water and stone. It grows where a river narrows and falls, where power is not imagined but seen and heard. Minneapolis is shaped by movement, by grain carried from distant fields, by timber floating downstream, by a constant rebuilding that replaces what was small with what is larger, and what was temporary with what is meant to last. Its history is unusual because the city is not old by European standards, yet it changes with remarkable speed. In a single lifetime, it moves from frontier outpost to industrial center. By the end of the 19th century, it is already something new. This film uses AI reconstruction to bring that earlier city back into view. Historical photographs, maps, and written records are reassembled into moving space. Streets return, buildings stand again, the river flows as it once did. If you find value in these quiet reconstructions of the past, you may consider subscribing or leaving a comment to support future work. Before industry, Minneapolis is modest and practical. It exists because of geography. The Mississippi River drops sharply at St. Anthony Falls, the only major waterfall on the river's long course. This fall creates energy. Long before factories, it draws native communities who understand its importance. Later, it draws settlers who see the same force in mechanical terms. Early Minneapolis is split by the river. On one side, St. Anthony. On the other, a younger settlement that will take the name Minneapolis. Wooden structures line muddy streets. Population is small, measured in thousands rather than tens of thousands. Compared to eastern cities, it feels unfinished. Compared to the surrounding frontier, it feels permanent. The river dominates everything. It determines where mills stand and where bridges cross. It shapes daily sound, a constant roar beneath conversation. Early industry forms tightly around the falls. Sawmills appear first, processing northern pine. Then flour mills follow, larger and more complex. Grain arrives by wagon and rail from the plains. It is ground, packed, and shipped east. Political power remains distant, but economic influence grows quickly. Minneapolis is not a capital, but it becomes essential. As the 19th century advances, expansion accelerates. Rail lines spread outward like spokes. Immigrants arrive from Scandinavia, Germany, and Eastern Europe. Neighborhoods thicken, streets are graded and widened. Brick replaces wood. Factories multiply along the riverbanks. By the 1880s, the city is loud and crowded. The air carries dust from grain elevators and smoke from coal fires. Work defines daily rhythm. Shifts begin early. Nights remain active. Minneapolis feels ambitious, aware of its role in a national system of production. Infrastructure follows necessity. Bridges span the river with increasing confidence. Warehouses rise near rail yards. Grain elevators tower above nearby houses, their scale already industrial rather than domestic. Streetcars connect neighborhoods. The city spreads south and west, absorbing farmland into residential blocks. Population grows rapidly, approaching 200,000 by the end of the decade. The city no longer feels provisional. By 1890, Minneapolis reaches a kind of peak identity. It is known across the country as the flour milling capital of the world. Its mills are the largest ever built, their internal systems complex and precise. Companies like Pillsbury and Washburn-Crosby dominate the riverfront. Architecture reflects confidence. Stone and brick commercial buildings line downtown streets. Churches and civic structures adopt Romanesque forms, heavy and deliberate. New neighborhoods feature orderly rows of houses, each close to work yet separated from industry's noise. Daily life follows predictable patterns. Workers cross bridges at dawn. Barges and rail cars move continuously. Markets fill with produce from nearby farms. The city's pace is steady, neither hurried nor slow. Minneapolis does not present itself as elegant in the way of older cities, but it appears certain of its purpose. Its streets are busy but controlled. Its skyline is still low but dense. This moment is not without tension. Labor disputes surface. Accidents occur in mills and rail yards. The river, source of power, is also dangerous. Floods and fires remain constant threats. Yet the overall impression is stability. Minneapolis believes in its future. It builds as though growth will continue without interruption. The city of 1890 stands between origins and uncertainty. It has outgrown its beginnings, but has not yet faced the full weight of the century ahead. From above, the grid is clear. The river divides and unites. Smoke drifts upward and disappears into the northern sky. This is Minneapolis at its most defined, a city shaped by force, labor, and water, still unaware of how often it will need to change again. The stability of the 1890s does not remain untouched. Progress brings strain. As the city grows, its systems are tested. Mills run faster, rail traffic increases. Neighborhoods press closer to industrial zones. In 1893, a national financial panic slows trade and unsettles employment. Production continues, but uncertainty enters daily life. Wages fall. Some factories reduce hours. The city does not collapse, but it learns that growth can pause. Fire remains a constant risk. Earlier in the century, a mill explosion had already shown how fragile the riverfront could be. By the 1890s, safety has improved, yet danger is never distant. Wooden structures still stand beside brick ones. Grain dust fills the air. A single spark can undo years of construction. The city responds by rebuilding again and again, each time with heavier materials and stricter rules. Destruction becomes part of the city's rhythm, not an ending, but a reset. As the new century approaches, Minneapolis adjusts. Milling technology changes. Roller mills replace older stone systems. Output increases, but employment patterns shift. Fewer workers are needed for the same volume of flour. The river remains central, but electricity begins to loosen its grip on location. Factories are no longer bound as tightly to the falls. The city spreads outward, less dependent on a single point of power. Population continues to rise, but growth becomes more complex. Immigrant communities establish churches, schools, and social halls. Residential streets take on distinct identities. Life is not centered only on work. Parks are planned. The city invests in public space, recognizing the need for balance. The Mississippi, once seen mainly as an industrial tool, begins to be viewed as a civic presence as well. The early 20th century brings labor conflict into clearer view. Strikes occur. Police and National Guard units appear in streets once dominated only by commerce. These moments are tense but contained. They reshape relationships between workers, companies, and the city itself. Minneapolis does not abandon industry, but it begins to negotiate with it. Governance grows more structured. Planning replaces improvisation. War in Europe later pulls resources and people away, but the city remains intact. Factories adapt. Rail lines stay busy. Minneapolis does not see the destruction that older cities face, yet it is altered by absence and return. After the war, modernization accelerates. Older buildings are demolished. New ones rise with simpler forms. The skyline slowly changes. By mid-century, the dominance of flour milling fades. Other industries take its place. Office buildings appear downtown. Highways cut through established neighborhoods. The riverfront, once crowded with mills and warehouses, begins to empty. What was once the city's loudest space grows quieter. Some structures are abandoned, others are repurposed. The falls still flow, but their role has changed. Minneapolis adapts again. Former industrial buildings become housing, offices, cultural spaces. The river is reclaimed visually and physically. Walkways replace rail spurs. The city reorients itself, not away from its past, but toward a different future. Population stabilizes. Identity shifts from production to connection, from output to experience. Looking back, the Minneapolis of 1890 appears both distant and familiar. Its grid remains. Its river still divides and joins. The forces that shaped it are visible in stone, in street width, in the placement of bridges. The city has been rebuilt many times, often quietly, without ceremony. Each version leaves traces beneath the next. History here is not marked by a single fall or rebirth. It is marked by steady adjustment, by responding to change without erasing memory. Minneapolis continues to move, as it always has, shaped by water, work, and the slow passage of time.